right, ladies and gentlemen, as I get everybody in here, thank you for coming. Everybody that is here, we're going to be giving away some free CE, and we're going to be learning about how to get people to get money when they don't have any.
Yeah.
You need money to buy a house, guys. Doesn't matter what kind of loan you're getting. It's probably going to cost you something out of pocket. So before we go any further, this is John Hudson with H&M Mortgage. He works with who I always refer to as the loan ninja, Robin Morton. I've never had a loan question that woman can't just pull out of her head, and she knows automatically. So that's awesome. John, I don't know what you know.
What do I do? Yes, now we wear lots of hats. So I'm actually co-founder, partner with Robin. So myself, I've also been doing this for 26 years. When I got in the business, barely knew there was a T in mortgage. Literally got in the industry because I needed a way to buy beer during the summertime while I was in college. And ultimately, though, I was able to attend my first closing as an assistant. And I'll never forget this woman. Remember her face, her blonde curly hair, and she was wearing blue nursing scrubs. And this woman started crying at the closing table. And she was crying because she was a single mom. She finally did something by herself, and she got her kids the backyard to play in. And that was pretty powerful. So I realized at that point, man, there's really something to this home ownership thing. And on my way home that day, I stopped and bought two books. One, How the Bond Market Works, and then two, Home Buying for Dummies. And quite frankly, I've been a student of the business ever since then. Prior to us, Aaron, will you click up there and add in Elizabeth there? There you go. Prior to starting H&M Mortgage Group with my partner Robin a month and a half ago, I was an executive vice president at Mortgage Financial Services, a multi-billion-dollar a year mortgage bank. So it was just time for new hats and new adventures, and so we started this company, H&M Mortgage Group. And part of that is, one of the things that I'm really passionate about is finding ways to put people into homes. And so with that, I'm here today on behalf of the Texas State Affordable Housing Corporation, as well as Texas Realtors. So that is why your class, your CE course, is going to be free today. So Matt and Elizabeth, if you don't mind, if y'all could put your TREC license numbers in the chat, then I can make sure that you guys get these hours credited to you. And then y'all as well, I'll get your TREC numbers here before we leave. But yeah, so that's what I'm here today about. So what are we going to talk about? What is TSHAC? What is down payment assistance? What is this really cool thing called a mortgage credit certificate, which is, no kidding, a way to literally put money back into your borrower's pockets. And at the very least, more than anything else, I'm here to equip you with ways to generate conversations out there. As salespeople, whether it's in mortgage or whether it's in real estate, the number one thing we should be doing every single day is generating as many conversations as possible. The more people we talk to, the more leads we're going to generate. The more leads we generate, the more closings we're going to have. The more closings we have, the more future referrals we're going to get because we did such a badass job. So it really boils down to a numbers game, and I think it all starts here, and that's with educating our consumers. So I kind of told you, the short version of my story here, but it's funny. I found this binder in my garage when we moved, and it's literally this was my marketing system back in 2001 after I graduated and become like an official loan officer and whatnot. And it's funny because
Is that available on Amazon?
eBay actually. So
no, limited run.
But it's funny when you come to my office, I'll show it to you. But it's funny because it has all the little communication, post-close follow-up things that we should be doing, or that we do, obviously, for the most part today, via the internet and whatnot. Back then, we actually had to print stuff out and fold it, sign it, and put a stamp on it. But yeah, and then that picture is funny. I actually got that taken at the mall in one of the little Ann Geets baby studios.
It'd have been better if you were in a pumpkin or something.
Right. So why do we do what we do? Why are we in the real estate business? And I have these charts I'm going to show you, which I really just think that are going to hammer home the point here. And Colin, I'm going to give you the PowerPoint so that way you can distribute to your gang.
Hold on,
Because
let's make it started.
Elizabeth, mute.
um,
Absolutely,
Will
ma'am.
you
So that's
mute
going to
her?
be our regular plate. What kind
Oh,
of meat
you
do you
can
want on
too.
that?
all right, there we go. She's getting a coffee.
No, you're getting a biscuit. No sausage.
Hey, you have to get one for the whole group. So, but anyway, so I invite you guys to take some of these visuals and share them out there within your sphere of influence too, because they will spark conversation. Like this one here, household net wealth. So this is 2022 data from the Federal Reserve Board Survey of Consumer Finance, and it shows that homeowners, the median homeowner net wealth was 396,000 compared to renters of $10,400.
This was 22.
This was in 2022, right? So this was, post-COVID property inflation. If you really drill down into the data points, the number one thing in there for that gap, home equity.
Oh, yeah.
And then I'm going to go here to, you got your picture here. And this one, and this one kind of hits home in a different way. So this is from the 2019 survey. But if you check this out, right, home ownership, household wealth by demographic was 188,000 for white families, 36,000 for Hispanic families, and 24,000 for Black families. And I don't think there's a kegerator in here that we could drink off of to get into a political discussion. So we'll leave that part out.
Oh, yes, please.
But if you really just think of all the issues that we have, societal wise, so much of it can be contributed to the gap between the haves versus the have-nots, right? And again, here, the number one driver for this gap is home equity. And so, this is the point that I really want people to understand, is that home ownership is truly the key to wealth creation. It's not just a talking point, that it's not just a marketing blurb or anything else. It's the message that we really got to get people to understand, that generationally, not get rich quick, but generationally, the way to build wealth for you and your family is to own a home. This is this chart here. So this just shows the gap between home ownership rates between white families and Black families. And what's interesting here is the gap really hasn't changed much over the last 30 years. And so again, from a messaging, from an educational standpoint, this is what we've got to get people to understand, is we could bridge this gap. We could fix a lot of things in this country by doing that. So where are all of our buyers? And I see this when I talk to my real estate friends, is they're like, there's not enough leads out there. Where are all the buyers at? And so what this chart shows you, what we all saw in 2000, 2021 was just wildly low interest rates for mortgages, right? So anybody that owned a home, they refinanced into a low rate. Anyone that bought a house, they got a low interest rate. And so what you're seeing here on this chart, this is the effective mortgage rate, right, blended, of all outstanding mortgages that are in the country. So you can see here that for Texas, it's 4.2%. Well, current mortgage rates range anywhere from 6.5 to 7, 7+. So you're not going to have a lot of move up buyers. That's what's really missing from the marketplace today. You're not going to have a lot of people that are going to go from a 3% mortgage rate to 7.5. It's just not going to happen. So this is just an interesting chart to share and get people to understand. This one kind of drives home that point too, and that is that, so this is the Mortgage Bankers Association purchase index, right? They track how many people are buying, applying for a mortgage loan to buy a house. And you can see here that the number today is still the lowest since I was a senior in high school. So, but it's not so much that there's low demand. There is demand out there, but again, you have people that are locked into a low interest rate, so they're not moving, and so that leaves us with a lot of first-time home buyers. Now, if you look at this chart here, this is crazy to me. I mean, I bought my first house when I was 21. And the average age for the National Association of Realtors today he is now 36 years old. And that's sad in a lot of ways. I mean, of course, I just use comparisons. Now, I was dumb and young. I mean, I happened, the only reason I knew to buy a house was because I was in the mortgage industry. But I think about this gap now, right? Of like, okay, man, 21 to 36, that's a 15-year gap of somebody that was throwing their money away on rent versus buying a house. So, but anyway, I digress. Getting back to this though, look at this demographic, look at the age group here. So this was from the census in 2022. So here we are now, 2024, right? But look at all the people that were there that were 33 and 34 years, 33 and 34 years old. So those people are now primed for home that they're walking into that prime age for a first time home buyer. So let's salute. So nonetheless, I mean, you can see that there's, demographically speaking, demand isn't going to go down anytime soon. Now we are seeing home prices, maybe getting to level off, and there's going to be pockets where prices are going to drop. But the demand is so strong, we're not going to see massive price drops like some people on Twitter might say. And especially this one here too, right? I mean, we are definitely blessed to be in Texas, but I mean, check this out. Texas still had three. This was net migration 2023. Legal migration, I should just add to that. So, but legal migration, from really from the other states, and we had the highest, the second highest at 315,000, second only to Florida. So again, nationally, you might see demand soften, but Texas, we're not. At the end of the day, we're not slowing down anytime soon. This one here. So this is important for you as real estate professionals because y'all are, for the most part, y'all still drive the bus, meaning that in a lot of ways, when a buyer wants to, or they're thinking about buying a home, they're going to talk to you first in many cases. Well, check this out. 20% of consumers still believe that they need to have 20% to put down to buy a house. That's insane to me. I blame Dave Ramsey for a lot of that, but it's sad. And so we just really need to get people to understand that you don't have to have any down payment to buy a house. And the longer, if you think that you're going to save up 20% before you buy your first house, the further you're going to put yourself out, right? Home prices are only going to continue to go up. And then ultimately, that's also just more money that you're wasting in the grand scheme of things. This one should be of no surprise. Renters find, we let Sedano end up there. There you go. This one here should be of no surprise, right? Renters are find saving for money for down payment to be like the most difficult part of their thing here. This data was from Redfin, and this just shows us, again, not to be surprised, the top two issues for millennials was one, housing affordability, and then two, down payment. So my commentary here is that home ownership and the home buying journey really is just that. And so if you look at it from, okay, I'm down at the ground floor and I'm staring at the top of a mountain, well, then my two main hurdles are affordability, down payment. Well, if I could help somebody overcome the down payment side, then I'm already halfway up the mountain.
Yeah.
And it's a hell of a lot easier to just kind of overcome that final hurdle if I'm looking at something from the halfway up the journey. So this one was kind of an interesting slide. I thought this was kind of fascinating to me. 40% of Gen Zers and millennials are working side hustles in order to save money for a down payment. So I think that's awesome. If people want to work two jobs, more power to them. But at the same time, anyone want to tell me what the number one killer of all deals is? Time. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, right? And the longer something gets put off, the less likely it is to be completed. So if I've got people that are working side hustles because they're trying to save up for this arbitrary number that they've got stuck in their head that they need to have for a down payment, then so many things can come into play during that time. And the first one that I think of is, an apartment renewal. So we don't want that to happen. Right. So again, hey, you want to work two jobs, more power to you, but let's get you in a house first. And then you can continue to work your side jobs. This is something we're just having to deal with in our economy today. Clearly, inflation sucks and it's kicking everybody in the rear end. And what you see here is credit card debt is skyrocketing, essentially. And at the same time, personal savings rate is come down to, darn near an all-time low. Oh,
Sorry.
look at it. No, you're good. And I got mood lighting in here now.
Well, you're gonna send this to me, right?
Yes, yeah. And then this one too, 40% of US adults have less than $1,000 in their savings account today. So, and the point that I just want to use here is just because somebody doesn't have a whole lot of money saved up and in deposits, that doesn't have to prevent them from owning a house. We see families every day that don't have a lot of money, but at the same time, they can manage cash flow. Now they're paying $2,000 a month in rent. Well, okay, then let's go out and find them something where they have a $2,000 a month housing payment. We just have to work it into something that's going to be comfortable for them. And then finally, last but not least, this one is just crazy too. So as real estate professionals, I just want y'all to really kind of help us out here. So check this out. 2/3 of homeowners, or I'm sorry, 2/3 of renters think that they need to find the house first before they go and get approved for a mortgage loan. Bad idea, genes, right? And so now obviously the problem there is, and I know that you all get frustrated too, because I hear from realtors all the time. The borrowers go on Zillow, they find the house of their dreams. That stupid little Zillow calculator just only shows them principal and interest. And so then they think, oh, this $400,000 house, look, we can get it for $1,800 a month. Well, it doesn't tell them taxes and insurance and everything else. So, my only point, I really try to help you, or I request your help here is, let's make sure that we get borrowers pre-approved. Get them over to us at H&M Mortgage. We do what's called I call it a home buyer assessment, because there's a lot of people that, they're not going to be able to buy for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and hell, even a year from now. But I can tell you that, and this is data from the NAR, tells us that 81% of all buyers, even if they can't buy today, they still wind up purchasing within 18 months. And what you're doing today is you're building a pipeline for future transactions. So, but help us get that message out. The home buying process is supposed to be a fun, amazing journey. Oh, we let back in there. The home buying, process is supposed to be a fun. It's supposed to be amazing and awesome and happy. But if you get people that they see the $400,000 house of their dreams, and then they go to get their mortgage, and they can only qualify for $300,000. Well, already, now it's like, oh. Yeah. But if we get them approved for $300,000 up front, well, now they know that that's what they can shop in, and now it's fun and exciting.
And plus, if I can tag onto that,
Yeah.
I know Aaron's really good about this. If they don't qualify, he's like, here's your game plan to qualify. You need to go pay off your Discover card. You need to do this. You need to do that. And then call me again in 6 months when this is done. And it's usually, everyone I've ever seen is realistic. It's not like, oh, you need to pay off your, whatever,
Pay off
$1 million.
your F-250, tomorrow. And
yeah, most of them are realistic, guys. And it's better to know. A lot of people are scared to pull their pants down and get the financial exam.
Yeah.
But it's, you got to do it if you want a house. So
it's the new term I'm using. It's a home buyer assessment. We're gonna. It's a physical assessment for your.
I call it a financial rectal exam. Is what I call
There
it.
you go. There you go.
They're gonna want to know if you owe back lunch money. They're gonna come at you.
But at least we have a smile and warm hands. So
Yeah, there you go.
So, but again, and again, why are we here today? And this is a stat that I really want you guys to hammer home, and that is 92% of all buyers go with one of the first 2 real estate professionals that they talk to. So whether you ever do a transaction that has down payment assistance tied to it or not, ultimately that doesn't matter. What matters is, maybe you were advertising it, maybe they saw it at a listing somewhere that you had access to down payment assistance, and they called you and you talked to them first. Because if not, then they're going to go down the street. And that's what we don't want to happen. I know for a fact, I've got a loan officer friend in Austin that twice a year, she goes out with a realtor friend of hers, and they go and they take flyers, say, special programs for firefighters. They drop off pizzas at fire stations. And I know for a fact that both the realtor and the loan officer have gotten deals out of that. None of them had anything to do with down payment assistance. But they leveraged the program here that we're going to talk about in order to get their foot in the door. So
Texas Heroes program.
that's exactly right. So what is TSHAC? Sorry, so those were my slides. Now I have to jump into what the state gives me. So what is TSHAC? TSHAC is Texas State Affordable Housing Corporation. I know the acronym doesn't match the pronunciation, but that's how they call it. I guess they all decided that TSHAC sounds better than TSAC.
It's also Texas. We just make up.
Right. Yeah, we just make up our stuff. So, but it says that it's here to design, they're here to help low income Texans, but I want to dispel that myth. These programs are not just for low income people. I'm going to make my Zoom thing pop up. I don't want that. There we go. So what are the programs they have? They have two main ones. They have the Home Suite, the Homes for Texas Heroes, which a lot of people are familiar with. They've heard about special programs for cops and teachers and whatnot. And then they have the Home Suite Texas Home Loan Program. So, oops, there we go. So who is a hero? So a hero for this program's purposes are, public school teachers, as long as they work for an ISD, firefighters, cops, school nurses working at an ISD, veterans, jailers, first responders. These are heroes. But I mean, even if you took this little graphic here, I mean, this gives you weeks worth of marketing content. I mean, and how many people have kids that are in schools? I mean, a lot of us do, right? So find out when the teacher inserts is, go offer to sponsor a breakfast and take tacos and say, hey, I have access to special programs for teachers. Because everybody loves a special program, right? So again, leverage it to get your foot in the door, to get your card and your number out in front of people. Because even if they don't buy today, statistically, there's a good chance you're going to be buying within 18 months. And then if somebody calls you up and says, man, Colin, but I'm a plumber, what do I do? Then you get to say, hey, not all heroes wear capes. My friends over at H&M have this special program called the Home Suite Texas program, which is special programs for plumbers or truck drivers or regular nurses. So it's
what was
not
that term they used during essential workers?
essential workers.
Is that
Yes.
what that is, basically?
Yes. Well, even as realtors were essential workers, you can say
I'm essential no matter what I do.
we got special programs for realtors, right? So nonetheless, if they're a hero, they fall into the heroes category. If they're not, they get Home Suite Texas. The assistance is the same.
Just a different name.
It's just a different name. In fact, the only difference is that if they're a hero and they're using down payment assistance in conjunction with the mortgage credit certificate, special tax credit program, then TSHAC waives their $400 processing fee. That's the only difference between the two. So how does the assistance work? So the assistance boils down and it ranges anywhere from 2 to 5%. So for this example, we'll just say we have a $300,000 loan. Borrowers are getting 5% assistance. They go towards their down payment and closing costs. And so they're going to get $15,000. The beauty here too with these is you do not have to be a first-time home buyer to get down payment assistance. And I just want to leave you guys with this one scenario that I saw. So we did this transaction. So it was up in Austin. Family was in a house. They had a low interest rate on the house. Yeah, they wanted to move. They wanted to buy something else, but they were locked in because they had a 3% mortgage rate. But all of their money, what they would use to buy a new house, was tied up in the equity in that house, right? So they didn't have a whole bunch of cash. So what we did was we helped this family convert their existing home into a rental property and use down payment assistance to buy another house. Now, just leave that scenario as a little nugget to generate a conversation, right? But if you're talking to somebody and say, well, I love to move, but man, I got a 2.875. I'm not leaving that mortgage anytime soon. You can be like, what if you could convert that to a rental property? And you can make some great cash flow now if that thing, with whether your interest rate is on that, right? You're just using it to generate a conversation there. Again, the funds can be used to cover down payment and closing costs. Right. So the assistance comes in two forms, and it can come in either the form of a grant, and I love the grant when it's a good viable option. Why? Because however much assistance the borrower gets, it's completely forgiven after they make 6 payments. Which means then we can, so let's use that example. Let's assume that 5% was available today in the grant program. So that would be $15,000, $300 sales price. Well, shit. After 6 months, poof, disappears. I can now refinance them into a lower market interest rate, and they've got 15 grand of equity. However, right now in today's volatility with the marketplace, we don't really see the 3, 4, 5% assistance very often. Now, what we do see every single day, what 99% of all the loan programs we're doing today are, fall under option 2, which is the 3-year deferred forgivable second lien. So what does that mean? So same example, $300,000 sales price, 5% assistance. Well, that means the borrowers are getting 15 grand to go towards their down payment and closing costs. So when they close on their loan, they're going to have a second lien for $15,000. However, with that second lien, there's no payment due. It's at 0% interest, so it's not accruing anything. And then after the borrowers had the house for 3 years, they get a little letter in the mail that says, congratulations, your second lien has been given. Poof, disappears. Let's see here. All right. So there's not any bond money available today, so far into it. But every once in a while, TSHAC will get a certain amount of funds that are allocated to special low interest rates and whatnot. And once those funds run out, they're gone. So it disappears. But everything else that TSHAC has today, it's called non-bond BPA, which means it's available every single day. Right. So they never run out of money on that for that purposes. All right. So what can we do with this? For government loans, we can do it with FHA, VA, USDA financing. We could use new or existing homes, right? So that it doesn't have to be, one or another. We could do condos, townhouses. We could do manufactured homes. So double wides, triple wides, you name it. And then this is another one too that I don't think is talked about or marketed enough. And that is duplex, threeplex, and fourplex. Shit, I wish that when I bought my first house, I bought a fourplex with down payment assistance, and then now I had a rental property.
How long do you have to occupy it?
Well, I'm not going to say go along with the term house hacking or anything else like that, but
That's the word I like.
but when somebody signs a note in a deed of trust, right, that says that they're going to intend to occupy this as their primary residence for at least 12 months. But life happens.
12 months.
Yes.
The answer is 12 months, folks.
Okay.
You got to be careful.
But but if I've seen this, if somebody gets into a house and 9 months down the road they get relocated or life happens, something happens, and they have to go buy another house, then it is what it is.
If you're house hacking, it's 12 months.
All right, there you go.
I know my people.
There you go. All right. So, but along those lines, I can tell you that my daughter's first house is going to be a fourplex, and with down payment assistance.
Just don't tell it. Just make sure, guys, if you do that, you do not let the tenants know that you're the owner.
That's right.
If you get a 1-800 number and you have it ring Google Voice or something, like you are just another tenant. That's just just trust me.
Yeah, because then they'll knock on your door
Every 5 seconds.
Yeah. But it's a great opportunity there. Conventional loans fall under the same guidelines, right? So you can do them government loans, we can do them conventional loans. Income limits, this is a big myth here too. A lot of people just assume that you have to be poor and not make any money in order to utilize these assistance programs. But check this out, this is completely not true. So for non-targeted areas, which means like everywhere in San Antonio, the income limit per loan application is $130,000, $177.27. If it happens to be in a targeted area, it jumps up to $145. And look at our friends up in Bernie there. They've got the highest income limits in the state, $164,000. So yeah, so you can have a family making 165 grand a year and get down payment assistance, a 5% down payment assistance, and buy a big house in Bernie.
Wait, so what do you mean by targeted area?
That is a great question. I know I didn't pay him for that segue here. So
You own $5 now.
So let's see here. So, all right, here we go. So there are certain areas, and don't worry, I'm gonna send you a follow-up with the links to all this stuff too. So targeted areas. Okay, here it goes. Targeted areas are areas that are assessed that are determined by HUD that where they want more incentive, they want to incentivize more people to buy a house in a certain area. But check out San Antonio here. So everywhere that's in green is considered a targeted area. So that's a big chunk of inside Loop 410 there.
The hood.
Yeah. But
That's basically all the hood.
but I will say though, but I will say though that these maps are also always in my idea, they're a little bit behind the times because you also have a lot of gentrification that's already taken place.
Well, I think it's funny, Dignity Hill and all that stuff's cut out, but well, that's Our Lady in Woodlawn Lake.
Right.
But if you point to where the sheriff's police station, to where the jail is, right in the middle of that green spot, right there.
Right. So what?
You point to every bail bond place you know.
No,
I guarantee you it's in that green area.
Jefferson Heights. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you definitely run into it, but there's still gentrification that is taking place in some of these areas.
Oh, absolutely.
So there's
Well, like Houston Street, like that line seems a little arbitrary for me. I'd put it over another major city block. Quadrant, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
Right?
And
Point to a check cashing place.
and so nonetheless, you're not wrong.
I know it sounds rude, but those are predatory
Yeah.
businesses that.
But in some of these lines, they really are arbitrary, right? I mean, so you can get down to it, and it's literally like one street to another. So, yeah, see, like there's the Nina Food Mart. I mean, I'm sure that's a Casa de Cambio also.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
But so nonetheless, but either way, there's still a lot of opportunity in here, and we have seen it where, I mean, I can think of a transaction that I did up in Dallas where, I mean, it was literally, a situation where borrower had to move out, borrower had to buy a house, borrower had no money, borrower made too much money for the base income limit, but they were under the targeted area. So basically, what we're able to do, show the realtor the green spots. Realtor, go find houses in these green spots. Borrower, these are your options. You want 5% down payment assistance for closing costs and down payment?
You gotta buy here.
You gotta buy here. And the lady was able to find a nice house in South Dallas, in a little bungalow-ish area. But you know what? There were lots of wins there that day. 2 realtors got transactions they wouldn't have closed. Family got in a house.
Hey guys, and I'm gonna say this now because I know what Daniel's thinking. It's like I'm never gonna remember those areas, right? And nor should you. That's Aaron's job.
Yes.
So
Yes.
call Aaron and say, tell me where the green spots are. What do they need annually?
Yes, they were doing manually. So it'll be next May before these get updated again.
Yeah.
But yeah, for sure. I mean, call us to do that. I mean, I'm gonna send you the link too, but just call us. That's what we're here for. The next thing I want to talk about is this really awesome program called the Mortgage Credit Certificate. So what is a mortgage credit certificate? The MCC is a no BS dollar for dollar tax credit for first-time buyers in the state of Texas. Now, what is a first-time home buyer? Typically, people think that, oh, well, it's just they haven't owned a house in 3 years. Not entirely true. So the definition of a first-time buyer for this is somebody that has not owned a primary residence in the previous 3 years, or they're a qualified veteran, and that just means that they're honorably discharged and they're not active duty, or they're buying a house in one of those targeted areas. So what is the tax credit about? Well, here I'm just going to go back and I'm just going to show you guys the real world stuff.
Well, can we just real quick, guys? We got to define tax credit.
Oh, no. Okay, well, good. I've got a slide for that.
Do you? Okay, I'll let you do it.
So
a lot of people it's like, oh, I got a tax credit, I got a certificate, I got a tax deduction, what is a credit?
Right.
That is very important because that changes significantly with what most people think a credit is.
Absolutely is. So what is the difference between a tax credit and a tax deduction? So a tax credit is a direct offset of any federal tax liability, right? I mean, we have taken out of our, well, I mean, we have to be W-2, you guys are 1099. So every paycheck that we get, there's money that the federal government is automatically taking money out based on what they're projecting our tax liability to be is. Now, at the end of the year, when we do our taxes, if I have deductions, it lowers my taxable income, right? So if, you know, that $500 I gave to Goodwill, that might ultimately reduce my tax liability by $8. But a tax credit, on the other hand, of $500 reduces my tax liability of $500.
Yeah, guys, so he keeps saying tax liability, and just to make sure we're clear on that word as well, because I know it gets a little confusing whenever we're talking about real estate. Tax liability is how much do you owe on taxes at the end of the year. At the end of the year, the government sees that you made $100,000, you fit into this tax bracket, you owe us this much money. If you don't pay it, you go to jail, okay? What he's saying is a tax deduction is whenever you say, well, yeah, I made $100,000, but I gave this much away and I used this much for work, and now it's only $80,000 really. Okay, well, you owe us this much. A tax credit goes, hey, you owe us 10 grand or whatever the number is. You have a $500 check that you can use to pay your taxes. It is a credit to pay your tax for you. Okay, that's how that works. So solar panel tax credits, all of those things, guys, make sure you know the difference between a deduction and a credit because it's huge.
Yeah.
I'd much rather have a $500 credit versus a $500 deduction.
All day, every day. So, yeah, so use this example. Home buyer receives a refund every year. They can still benefit from it. So let's look at this. Annual tax liability of $10,000. Right? They put it on this thing. It's raining money. It's raining dollar bills here. Now, if they paid too much, so they get a refund. Now, what does an MCC affecting the MCC on income tax liability? So in the example that they had here, the borrowers had a $3,600 MCC credit that goes back in the bucket before payroll deductions. So there it goes. So now instead of owing $10,000, they only owed $6,300, which means that they're just going to get they're going to get that money back to them. Oh my goodness, that's raining lots of dollar bills. So here, so I'm going to do this.
There's a slide in there. You can say after click, and it'll just keep making those motions one at a time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'll show you.
Okay. I'm going to speed that up for that. Yes. So let's see here. There we go.
Deduction good, credit better.
That is 100% accurate. So okay. So let's just use that real world example that we were saying. So let's say we have a $300,000 loan amount, right? Well, today somebody getting 5% down payment assistance. Where is it? 7.75%. So I'm going to go back over here to my little calculator.
In case you're wondering, that's how they get the money back.
To a certain degree, yes. Yeah, but
they're betting that you don't die.
they,
Keep paying the loan. Keep paying the loan.
yes, but I will say this too, right? Well, and we'll come back to that. So the mortgage rates for the TSHAC down payment assistance are posted every single day. And you can see here that we can go down to a 620 credit score for FHA loans, 640 for conventional. 5% assistance is 7.75. Now, if they only need 3% assistance, it's 7.125, right? So there's a big gap there. And that's where getting pre-approved really comes into play because it gives us more negotiating power. Maybe I don't need 5% assistance. Maybe I only need 3. So there's lots of avenues.
But Colin, is it more better? Wouldn't I want 5%, especially if it's a grant? Maybe. Would you like to pay an extra $400 on your mortgage every month for 30 years? You may not need it, right? There's a trade-off. It's like, yes, we need to get into this house, but is it going to it's not bankrupt me, but is it going to hurt longer if I take more?
I will say that our team at H&M, one thing that we're really damn good at is presenting people their options. Door number 1, door number 2, door number 3, door number 4. Choose your own adventure. We're here to advise you of your choices.
Guys, it's so important. Everybody thinks, oh, interest rate's the only lever. I'm going to call these guys to find the best interest rate. There's so many more levers that you can pull other than interest rate. It's incredibly important. Don't get me wrong. But as you can see, it's like sometimes you may have to pay a crap interest rate to get 5% down payment assistance.
Yeah.
And they may even tell you, oh, you have to make payments on it for 6 months.
Right.
And then it goes away, and then call me again and we'll refinance you back into a 5% because your credit is that good.
Yeah.
And now you've got 15 grand in equity, which it should work, right? There's a lot to this, guys. It's three-dimensional chess.
It really is.
That'd be good.
No, that's a great way to put it. There's so many moving parts. In my 26 years, I've literally seen tens of thousands of loan scenarios come across my desk, and I can tell you that no two are alike. That one example that is another really good way to advocate for the down payment assistance today is, let's say that a family has only saved up $15,000. Like that is their savings. Well, if they go to buy a house today, it's gone. Now they have zero money left over, right? Versus, hey, we can get you 15 grand assistance, so we can get you in this house today, and now you have this $15,000 still there in your emergency savings fund. So there's definitely trade-offs, and that's why it's important to have options there. Okay, so let's go back to my calculator here. So check this out. So in that scenario, right, I used 300,000, 7.75% interest. So the borrower's tax savings on their MCC today, in year one, in that scenario would be $3,474. But wait, there's more. The MCC is the gift that keeps on giving. As long as the borrowers file it with their tax return every year, they're going to get it every year that they own the house as a primary residence. So after 5 years, they would have gotten $17,000 back. 10 years, 33. 30 years, 71,000. The beauty here too is, right, it's not if, but when the borrowers refinance to a lower interest rate, they can keep their MCC. Now you can't add it once they're in the house, but if you refinance it, you can keep it. So, but does everyone kind of understand what I'm showing you here with this tax credit thing? Does it help him? Okay, good. So now let me do this. We had 3474, right? 3474. So what I get to do, or what the borrower gets, they're either going to get that $3,500 back at the end of the year, they do their tax return, or the borrower can actually go and adjust their withholding with their employer today and have less income tax taken out of their paycheck. And that would be to the tune of $289 a month. I mean, so hey, you'll never get it to match exactly where it needs to be, but I mean, if you could still add $200 back to somebody's paycheck, I mean, that's a big deal. Now, what I also love the MCC for though is I get to use that income, that tax credit as qualifying income, which means that so that if they make $4,000 a month. Well, now for qualifying and getting a loan, they make $4,289.50. And I can tell you that, $20 can be the difference between getting a loan in today's world or not. I mean,
It's the same deal for me 6 months ago. But this would make or break.
Yeah. So borrower gets a benefit, we get them into a house, and we go from there. And then from the last little, but wait, there's more. I like to educate people on this too. And that is, so the mortgage credit certificate takes 15% off the top. So by doing that, I would take a note rate, multiply it by 0.85, and that gives me an effective interest rate of 6.587. Now, so yeah, the note rate might be 7.75, but the effective interest rate of ultimately what they're really paying is only 6.5, which puts it back into that market rate territory. I know.
Gotcha, Colin.
I'm good with it. I'd rather be paying that than paying the government.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, qualifying for the MCC, right? So there is still income limits. They are a little bit different from these are the down payment assistance income limits, right? You see
Everybody gets to memorize them.
135. But for the MCC, they are a little bit different in that they go by the number of people in the household. So if I go to Bexar County down here, I can see it's 104, 141 for 1 to 2 family households. And if you got 2 people and a kid, it jumps up to 119. Now that is still not low income.
Yeah.
Right.
Low income here in San Antonio is what, 40 grand or something?
38.
38, yeah, it's low.
So median income is maybe 75. So here we're still people making 6 figures, qualifying for these tax credits.
So you can make 119,000 and buy a 600,000 property.
Well, you could
It's a
buy,
big down payment.
you could buy a $600,000 house if
It's a
it was
big
in a
down
targeted area. Because if
Yeah.
you look all the way over on the right-hand side,
Plus, yeah.
you see maximum sales price limits for the MCC. So for the most part, though, 571 or 500, we'll call it 572,000 for the maximum sales price.
Yeah, but what's nice, does the equity roll over if I'm selling a house and rolling into the new one? It's still my primary residence, so it would work. So if I upsized,
Well, the only way you'd be able to do that is if you were buying in a targeted area or a qualified veteran,
got it.
because you have to be that first-time home buyer for the tax credit, remember?
All right, that's another one in the win column. I knew I should have done that.
Right. So, but, you know, again, for an agent, you know, put your marketing hat on again here. And if you've got a listing that's below 570,000 in Bear County, put it in the MLS. This house qualifies for a federal income tax credit because it's going to make your phone ring. And again, it boils down to, you
You
know,
know, when they call, say, call Aaron. They'll explain it. That's what I do.
I mean, right. But again, you got the borrower to call you first, and that's what you want to do, just to generate that conversation there. Okay, so let me go back here. Here's just, if a borrower doesn't happen to use all of their tax credit, they can actually carry it forward up to 3 years, which is a nice little tidbit. Of course, consult your tax consultant here. Again, we're income limits. There's a possibility of recapture. However, I'll tell you that it's extremely rare. In fact, it's so rare that even my friends at T-Shack can't remember the last time they heard of one happening. 3 things have to happen simultaneously for the IRS to claim recapture. And that is they have to sell their house within 9 years. Okay, maybe. They have to make a net profit on the sale. Okay, maybe. And the third is their income has to increase by 5% every single year that the borrower lived in the home. And that's 5% over the county limit every single year that they lived in the house. So, and that is not very likely.
Is that a compounding 5%?
Yes. And then it just has to hit, that has to be over the income limit by that every single year.
Yeah.
So it's like extremely rare.
Oh, I was gonna say that's like if it's compounding, it's gonna work out to like a 42% raise in 5 years, which
Yeah.
my wife doesn't have our help.
So, again, anyone can qualify for these programs. They just have to be a first-time buyer for that tax credit. They don't need to be a first-time buyer for the down payment assistance if that's all they're using. I'm just gonna
That can be anybody, like if
For the
self-employed.
apartment.
self-employed people too. Now, obviously, self-employed people, I mean, we're qualifying off their tax returns. So there's not any non-QM with this. It has to be, a conventional Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA, VA, or USDA loan. One borrower in the home does need to take a homebuyer education class, which are free and they're online now. And even if they're not using these, I still believe these homebuyer education courses are still good because consumers, they're not really teaching it, home ec anymore, right? Basic, budgetary math. And this is an interesting statistic, and that is that homeowners 33% less likely to fall behind in their mortgage if they've taken a homebuyer education class. So just for the betterment of.
Is that like the student loan thing? They just saying you have to pay this back. I was like, I want you to bet us, and they'll skip.
I don't think
No.
I go to that class anymore, but I.
No, well, it was like online, and they made you sit there for 15 minutes, and then there was a quiz at the end. Do you have to pay back your student loan?
It's like an
Yeah.
hour class that they have to take.
Oh my gosh, no, that's funny.
Oh no, now we have to just click through it. We don't even have to sit through it.
It's not even like defensive driving. So no, it's not as bad as defensive driving. But the biggest takeaway here I want y'all to have too is these things still close fast. Now my personal record was 11 calendar days. But now a lot of stars had to align in order to make that. I don't want to really set that as the norm.
Yeah.
But on average, these things do close within less than 30 days. And if you're working with a buyer that's making an offer on this, it's none of the seller's business. It's none of the listing agent's business. I mean, you just use your standard third-party financing addendum, and there you go. Now, after it closes on time or before, and you had down payment assistance, I hope that you're screaming from the mountaintops that, H&M Mortgage did such an amazing job. This had down payment assistance and closed in 3 weeks. What do you think of that? Let's see here. There's marketing. There, there are marketing resources that are available. We have these and can help you guys too. We've got flyers that can be co-branded, which are great.
Okay.
And then hables hipotecas también. So, I mean, we've got stuff that's in Spanish as well. Let's see here. So why are we doing this? Again, we want to bridge the household, net wealth gap. And so check this out. So don't let this be you. And that's us over there on the left.
Is this your attempt at a meme?
It is. You like it?
We're getting there. We're getting there.
So I'm not. See. I'm
Normally memes don't
I'm
need arrows.
Well, some people got confused.
I
and
get
said,
it.
just
There's
really
a lot going on there.
like that's me. These round wheels are T-Shack. And then these are buyers agents, sales agents. They no, we don't need it. We're too busy. We don't want to know about this shit. And now they're pulling wagon with square wheels. So
I'm framed. Send me this. Send me this.
Absolutely. So at the end, though, this is where we all get a chance to kind of write our own story and help families write their stories. So now for everyone that's been here, I want to put your name on T-Shack's website under the, T-Shack approved realtors.
Oh,
So I'm not saying that leads are just going to fall out of the sky
I'll
because
sign
your
it.
name's on T-Shack's website, but it's another place to have your contact information for buyers. So if you take out your phones and you scan that, and Elizabeth and Matt, you guys can do the same. I'll leave it up there. And it's going to come up to a little form. You're going to fill it out. Let's see here. Oh, no, I was going to go pull up in the chat. So see what's my license.
do you even know what I do here? I'm just answer my stupid questions. That's what I was gonna say, but I was like, it's so rude. Anyway, how did you hear about us? John Hudson,
That's right.
class instructor name, John Hudson. What Maine county do I serve? XR.
A lot of people still call it Bexar. That's funny.
What is my profession?
I know, that's my profession, firefighter. All right, while we're doing this, Elizabeth, Matt, y'all got any questions? Daniel's asked his. John did a good job, so I don't have a lot of dumb questions to ask. So who else has got a dumb question?
Don't be afraid.
I love it. Well, if nobody's got any dumb questions,
Yeah.
let me tell you my general rule of thumb on this. Is I do talk to what I've done before, I haven't done it in a while, I need to get back on it, is I used to be a teacher. So I know a lot of teachers, and I know if you just go say, hey, I will buy, when's your next faculty meeting? I will buy them, fill in the blank, if you give me 2 minutes and let me hand out these flyers. They'll say yes. Normally what I do, guys, I go to Costco and I'm buying like ice cream sandwiches or something. Because faculty meetings tend to be right after school. They're all grumpy and want to go home. Give them ice cream. They cost like 86 cents a piece and you're out the door. Right? Have the flyers just say, hey, look, guys, if show them 2 slides. If you're renting, you're losing money. And they have, I always just say, there's grants for teachers.
Special programs.
I say there's grants for teachers. You may or may not qualify, but hit me up. And that definitely works, guys. I like the idea with the firehouses. That's what, guys, I get so many people that are like,
Sorry, thank you.
we don't know what to do. It's like we give you nuggets all the time, and I don't feel like anybody ever does them. Like I kind of want to do the fire truck one or the firehouse thing just to see if I can go down a fire pole. And Like mark my words, I'll go down. I'll make it happen. But it's simple little thing, guys. And John hit the nail on the head. Yes, this was a lot of information. I'm going to retain almost none of it. Just to be honest with you, I just know Aaron's phone number. I know John's phone number. I'm just like, there's a program where you get free money. How do I do it? Call him. The end. And what they're going to do is try and get them qualified. They're going to take care of all that stuff. And they always email me at the end of it. And they're like, hey, look, man, they need about 4 months and they're ready to buy. Or here's the pre-approval. Go have fun.
Yeah.
But he hit the nail on the head. You've got to be talking to as many people as you can talk to a day. If you're waiting for me to sit next to you so you can make the phone calls, you're going to be a very poor person. If you're waiting for somebody to tell you who to call, you're going to be very broke. If guys don't wait, just go do something. It doesn't matter. That right there just opened you up to school nurses, school librarians, coaches, firemen, EMS, cops,
Veterans.
Hey, go pull a fire alarm somewhere and just wait for them with flyers. Don't do that. That was a joke. That was a joke. Sorry.
Hey, get them all there at once.
Yeah, get everybody.
Can
Don't
we
we have
get
a file
a
on it?
PDF file, like for that, so we can promote it, or?
Oh, yeah. No. We've got marketing
Okay.
materials.
Oh yeah, and send them your headshot
I
and
would
put your picture
love
on.
to do that.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
On mine.
I know.
Oh, having the fire alarm?
That was fun. Don't do that.
Yeah.
The
Oh, but
golden
think about it. But
teachers.
it also
It
it also went to hospitals, nurses, doctors. I mean, boom, there's one.
Look, the reality is with these assistance programs too, it's marketed for everybody. So, I would even use it for, hey, this is our special program for plumbers,
Mhm.
right? Open up the door to, plumbers, truck drivers. It really doesn't matter, but just like with anything, you're just promoting a special program,
Yeah.
right? T-Shack down payment assistance, and you're marketing to plumbers. It's a special program for plumbers. And even just putting stuff out there within your own social media spheres of
That's
influence, it generates.
Plumbers, electricians. Susie's excited. Susie's made it in this business for, I don't know, 50, 60 years. It's been a long time. It's somehow I'm still alive, guys. It's because we talk to people frequently. We know just enough about these ideas to get them to the people that understand them fully. And that's how you sell, guys. I mean, you just got to talk to people. That was a very, very important point that he said very quickly early on. Guys, the more people you talk to, the more money you will make. Period at the end. If you're sitting at home right now, scared to go outside and get free lunch, you got to come up here and talk to people. You got to get out. You got to get out. You're not going to make any money at your house.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, hey, case in point too. I mean, I just like to the office thing. That's why me personally, I can never work from home. I got to be around people to bounce ideas off of.
I go through phases. It was what I do. I put off a lot of work, and then I'm like, okay, I'm just going to stay home and do it. And then
There you go. Yeah. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining us.